What other way is there to finish to have an interview with the largest online travel company of the world? Glenn Fogel from Priceline. I think this is your 7th or 8th NOAH or something?
I've lost count. It's a lot.
Welcome. We had earlier the founder and CEO of Domo, who before that did Omnitour, and he shared a little bit about his election or his view on the election. So before we go into business, let's talk quickly about politics. I don't know if you have a view on it, but what was your reaction when you saw that Trump became president?
Yeah. I think there are a couple ways to think about this. And I'm not going to say who I favored or didn't, not relevant. What I would say is there are a couple lessons to be learned from that election. One of the things right away you think about is people believing how the future is going to be. And one day in advance, you're certain it's going to be something, and it ends up being something entirely different. And that is a lesson to be learned for our businesses, entrepreneurs, how they think things are going to go, and it doesn't end up like that at all. Second thing is, and this is again is for the entrepreneurials, the people with startups, the people with young companies, and they're struggling, whatever, and the fear of failure. And Mrs. Clinton worked her entire life for one goal. And she worked incredibly hard at it. And she did everything she was supposed to do. She went to the best schools. She said everything. And she got one day away from getting what she wanted. And she didn't. And now she never, ever will. It's done for her. You're an entrepreneur and something doesn't work out and you fail, you still have a chance to do and get up and do it again, as she did throughout her life. So you have to admire that. And then the last thing I'll say is, and I've heard a lot of vitriol, a lot of angry things about this. And I'm old enough to have voted for the first Ronald Reagan election, Reagan against Carter. That shows how old I am. And I remember back then, particularly from Europe, the people saying, "Oh my God, this crazy war guy is going to destroy the world. It's horrible." I remember that. The world did not end. We're still fine. And so I would say something that Mrs. Clinton said yesterday, which I just thought was so beautiful. With that terrible, terrible feeling of, she must have felt just so bad. And she stepped out in front of everybody. And she says, "Everyone, let's have an open mind and give him a chance to lead." So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to do that. And I wish everybody would do that and just chill out a little bit.
I think everybody has to do this at the moment.
Yeah, I guess so.
So let's talk about Priceline. Truly impressive, of course, how business is going and how the company has consistently grown. You are covering pretty much almost all travel verticals. What's next for Priceline?
Yeah, that's a good question. People do ask us that a lot, and with our size, what it is now,
it's difficult to put the cash flow you generate to work in M&A. For the ones who don't know Glenn has been the driving force between Priceline's M&A strategy and acquired all of the business. How long are you at Priceline now?
17 years in February.
17 years, wow.
Yeah, it's a long time. And you're right, it is hard. We just did our earnings announcement at the beginning of this week. And in the third quarter, we produced $1.9 billion in adjusted EBITDA. That's good. That's one quarter. We have a market cap that's getting close to $80 billion right now. And people say, well, how are you going to keep this up? The growth rates are great right now, but what do you do next? What's next? And it's not easy, but the first thing we say is we're going to improve on what we're doing right now. And you had some people up here, and they talked about some of the difficulties. We had one of your guests talking about, doing an air ticket's still a pain. And that's right, doing an air ticket's a pain. And how can we do it better? How can we make it easier? Remove those friction. You had people talking about attractions.
And when you say air tickets, is that in kayak or which company?
Priceline.com, our subsidiary, Priceline.com in the States, does air tickets. And kayak obviously helps facilitate. And I'm not sure what the right answer is, and if I was, I certainly wouldn't be saying it out loud as a competitive thing. But there's definitely, anybody who does air tickets for yourself with a family, sometimes it's a long time to get done with that process. It's annoying, trying to decide which one, et cetera. So in our businesses right now, all of our different ones that you mentioned, right now, I know that we have ways to improve it significantly. So that's day one. And again, lesson for everybody doing a business. focus on what's the most important thing.
Yep.
And probably it's not going out and doing something different that you've never done before. It's sticking to the knitting that you're doing now.
Yeah,
That's
I saw that, like, sorry to mention a competitor, but I was always amazed, like, how much more innovation you can bring on Booking.com when you try to book a hotel, and other players also, like Skyscanner on the air side, these sidebars, they start getting so clever, right? And it feels like the beginning. But let's talk about the value creation. In hotels, last numbers I have, you account for over 60% of the online hotel bookings, and I guess air is very fragmented. But when you compete with the airline companies or the hotel companies to win the customer, and they obviously don't want to lose the customer to the OTA, and if you think long term, on the one side they're your suppliers, they give you the inventory, but on the front end, they're your competitors. Can you take value from the industry, or can you grow by adding more value to them, managing capacity, etc.?
Okay, well, there are a couple things there. First, that 60% number that was just said, I want to vehemently say that is not accurate. And the regulators, I want to make sure that they never see something and say, oh, it's 60%, because it's not. And if you look at some of the analysts' reports, they'll say, we have maybe 10%, some say less sometimes, of the total available hotel room type things that we can do. Because people say online, what does that mean? When somebody goes on and they look at a website and then they book it, maybe they book it on the website, maybe they book it on their phone, maybe they make a phone call, maybe they walk into the hotel. Mm-hmm. It's all different ways, and I think you can't really divide it up into, it's just people like us and Expedia and Citra. I think that's wrong in the way you think about the way people actually act. So that 60% is not true. Second thing is, you're right. We have suppliers who obviously would much prefer that everybody went to their site and they didn't have to pay anybody a commission.
And they come up with like price match. Hilton has like, we match any price.
Sure. And obviously, we obviously want to have our customers come to us. And so we're partners, and we are very good partners, but there's no doubt everybody wants to reduce their costs, and that marketing is an expensive part of that of our businesses, and we want to reduce it as much as we can. The key thing, though, is adding value. And we believe we add tremendous value to both sides of the marketplace. On the one hand are those travelers who want to get the best deal and the best process and the easiest service and customer service. And on the other side are the suppliers. And the value we bring to them is tremendous also. They wouldn't participate if we weren't bringing them value. And we bring them great value, everything from all the language translations that we do, all the content that we put up so that they are able to merchandise their product. We do so many things for both sides. That's the value we add, and that's what we want to continue to do. And I talked that first question, how are we going to do things better? It's adding more value.
And the share of the OTA, I think Focusrite is tracking this, has been declining for a while. Do you expect that it will stay at that level, or the market share of the intermediary will grow over time?
You're saying versus the
hotel
suppliers?
owners,
right.
the airline companies.
You know, it's one of those things. One, these statistics are always interesting, and how accurate are they or not. And I can't make predictions about which quote unquote group is going to have more share, less share.
Yeah.
We'll just concentrate on providing the best value to both sides of that marketplace, and obviously we'd like to get more share for ourselves.
So looking at the valuation of Priceline, I think it's like 75 billion, and you said you made close to 2 billion profits per quarter recently.
EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, 1.9 billion.
Yes, EBITDA.
Yeah.
Like the private capital markets seem to go a little bit crazy if you look at Airbnb, which I understand doesn't make as much profits as you, maybe hardly any, but they got valued very highly. Do you regret to be a public company?
Well, there are a couple of things about that. First of all, yes, we read in the papers what the valuations of certain private companies are. The thing that's never in that article is the numbers for those companies. And you just mentioned maybe Airbnb loses money, maybe they make a little money. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea how much Uber makes or doesn't make. It's a private company. Now, how somebody decides on what the valuation is when they make that last round of investment, it's a function of many things, and obviously the way the capital structure works, many times the people who are making those last investments are getting certain types of preferences that makes them feel comfortable that they're going to make it at that valuation, et cetera. you know, the market is what the market is. And there's no doubt that sometimes you would say, gee, that seems a little bit high, and sometimes say, gee, that's undervalued, and that's what makes a market, right? In terms of us being concerned about, you know, we're public and gee, wouldn't it be great to be private? There are pluses and minuses all over, and it goes everything from you have stock, so you can buy companies with your stock. There are things that are regulatory, where being public sometimes has some public regulatory issues that you may not like. There are other things that being public may give you some brand halo because people know about you because you're always being talked about in the financial, but all sorts of pluses and minuses. It will be interesting to see, though. We have a private, well, it's not private, but it's part of Expedia, Trivago, which is majority owned by Expedia, but the founders have a large minority stake.
I think they're rumored to go public.
Exactly.
They have been on our stage already 4 years ago.
Right, so it's going to be interesting to see when that comes out because people all try and say, well, what's the valuation, what's the valuation? Some people have put out a number in analyst reports. It'll be interesting once it is public what the valuation is versus what people are saying.
And that's a funny one, right? I think they do like 800 million revenues and no profits, but they decide to reinvest all their cash flow into future growth.
That's also an interesting thing about a company that the investors say, I want you to make this type of margin, this type of return in profits. And if you don't do it, you're going to be punished in the value of your stock. There are other companies, let's go with Amazon instead.
They can do whatever they want.
And they can not make money and everybody loves it and it's got an incredible, you know, multiple. So sometimes it depends on what somebody believes the future is and they say, we'd rather you invest that money for growth and continue to grow. Don't, you know, have profits now. Grow faster. Other times investors say, no. Bring some of that to profits.
The CFO of Adyen earlier on our stage, a European unicorn, he said it's about market share growth today versus profits tomorrow. That's really what they're focused on.
Yeah, at some point though, at some point you have to have profits. That's the thing. Eventually you do. Eventually the market gets, you know, say, okay, let's see something at the bottom line.
That's what we thought about Amazon, but they seem to be able to get away with.
They certainly have kept it going for a long time.
What's your view on Airbnb? Are they a competitor to yours? I mean, they are clearly helping people to sleep away from home in cities, but their inventory is completely unstructured. There are a lot of regulatory risk and horror stories around it. Is it a new market, or they're also, you think, eating into your market?
Well, you know, one of the things that people sometimes who aren't looking closely at us, they don't realize what a big non-hotel accommodations, that's what we call that type of accommodation, non-hotel, how big it is for us. We have 529,000 non-hotel accommodations. Over
so you have also an inventory in the non-hotel.
Well, not most. No, I wouldn't say most. I mean, there are tremendous number of things. Again, one of those things, who's know what the stats are? There are a lot. But my point is, we have a big business in that. And obviously, because we have business in that, and Airbnb's in that business, we're competitors, sure. Is it eating into our business? Well, our numbers are very good, but you can't prove the counterfactual. If they didn't exist, would our numbers be that much higher? It's sort of when a hotel, and I've heard some hoteliers say stuff like, well, Airbnb doesn't matter to me. And my thinking is, how do you know that? Because how do you prove that they're there? If they weren't there, would you have more or not? I don't know. I do believe, though, that it's one of those things that shows how technology can create a new marketplace. Yes, people have been renting homes from other people's ownership for a long, long time. But the beauty of that Airbnb platform when it came out is it made it much more transparent. It reduced the frictions. It made people trust and feel better about doing it. Uber, same thing. People have been using taxis for a long time. People have been using their telephone to get a taxi to come to them for a long time. They would talk into the phone, which most people don't seem to do anymore, but that's the way it was always done. And Uber coming out with what they did, they reduced that friction, they increased the trust, they saw, oh, I see where that car is, where it is, how far away it is, when it's going to get to me. So they made it a much easier way to get that cab. So it's the beautiful thing about there's so many things in technology that are going to be coming down the road that are going to make our lives easier and better.
When I want to get sold to Priceline, what is the kind of stuff in terms of companies who fit to your group you're looking at? Well, what kind of profile you're after?
Well, you know, we're in the travel business, so we'd like something in the travel business, obviously. And
or related.
Or related, correct, or related. Obviously, One of the things nowadays that makes it a little harder to buy small companies is small companies sometimes take as much effort to do a deal and to manage them as big companies, but they don't.
Maybe even more. Sometimes.
Maybe even more, but they don't do a lot for the bottom
So like
line.
a minimum size?
I'm not going to come out with a minimum size, and here's why. Because there's the second thing to do that. Sometimes a very tiny company makes no money at all, but they have great IP, or they have great just people, technology. In fact, we bought a company, a very, very tiny company out of Israel a couple years ago called Clicker. 6, 7 guys. Brilliant, just brilliant. They moved from Israel to Bangkok to work for our Agoda subsidiary. Just wonderful, just really good. And that's the type of thing where you do a little deal and you think, well, is it going to matter? I mean, they don't make any money, but the thing is, those people are very, very important in terms of helping that bigger company. And so you never know, big, small, could be anything. But I will say we are very selective.
Maybe one last question. I remember you bought Agoda, an Asian booking.com version, and it followed the path. How much is China or extended Asia focused for Priceline?
Well, I think you know that we have a sizable investment in the largest OTA in China, Ctrip. We have I think it's somewhere around approximately $2 billion investment in that. And we have many offices. We have lots of people in China doing our own business there. China is for any business, actually. It doesn't matter, travel, anything. I mean, it is one of the most important marketplaces to be, and I'm repeating what everybody knows, everybody's seen. You see the numbers. And if you are not there, you have to say, okay, I'm willing to give up a lot of potential growth. I've seen numbers that say something to the effect of, over the next 10 years, maybe 50% of the growth of travel, based on where we are today to where we'll be 10 years from now, will be China or China-related somehow.
Ladies and
I don't know
gentlemen,
if it's true or not. Again, it's a
MCI
prediction of the future, so who
Capital
knows?
presentation
So we don't have to
on
use
the
the number,
workshop
just use
stage
directionally.
begin
If
in
you
10
want to be in a world market, you better have a China strategy.
Oh, we don't have a Chinese strategy, but maybe
should
one
get one.
day. Glenn, thank you so much for sharing those thoughts, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
In air or non-air or hotels or
Who knows? Who knows
non-hotels, whatever it is. Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thank you.